It's raining and it's locked down, and so I thought I'd make my first DIY video. We've just bought a Swift Bessacarr 496, and one of the challenges we have being a family of 4 is having enough storage space. Though the motorhome's got a bit of space under all of the seats, the main wardrobe was just one big wardrobe for hanging clothes in, and really I thought we could use that space a bit better. I looked online and there are quite a few videos for making shelving for motorhomes, but most of them either use screws or double-sided tape or glue, and one of the key things I wanted to do is make sure that these shelves were 100% removable and didn't leave any damage to the motorhome. Currently the wardrobe is one big open space with a couple of shelves at the bottom, a large area for hanging coats, and there was a rail going along the top. So the first thing I did was unwire the light bulb that was on the auto switch here and replaced it with an LED light strip that runs from the top right down to the bottom. So that was quite straightforward. It just sticks on, and that's going to give me light when I put shelves which are going to be a lot deeper. So currently the light bulb at the top just wouldn't have put light into all of the other shelves, so we needed some way of lighting all the shelves. The bottom shelf wouldn't come out. It's been routed into the side and screwed into the side, and again I didn't want to do any damage by removing that, so I need to make sure that my sort of first shelf sits on top of that existing shelf. So what I decided to do was to create these legs that go down the side of the wardrobe. All the legs are different lengths, or 3 different lengths. The long one that goes all the way to the ground of the motorhome, sort of a medium length one that goes to the bottom shelf, and then 3 shorter ones that go to the higher shelf. So these posts have got 90-degree brackets screwed onto them. They support each of the shelves. So let's have a look at the shelves. So these are the shelves that I've cut out. They're 12mm ply, and they've just been stained and varnished. I couldn't match the colour, but they look nice when they're installed. Each shelf is, I guess, slightly different. The lower shelves, they've got the cutout of all of the frame, and then I've had to cut out the little rectangles that allow those legs to go through. So the bottom shelf only has 2 cutouts. When you start getting into the higher shelves, they've got more cutouts, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then to finish them off, I put a 90-degree piece of aluminium on the side, and that gives you a bit of a lip to stop things sliding off the edge when you're in transit, and also gives them quite a nice finish along the front, because really this is the only bit that you're going to see easily. So let's start putting some of these shelves in. So I guess the challenge I had with putting these shelves in is that there is already quite a few different fittings and satellite dish controllers and things already in the motorhome. So when you're choosing your shelf height, there are some restrictions as to where you can actually place them. So let's get this first shelf in. This one sits on top of that existing shelf that I showed you. Alright, so this is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, but the first leg, the long leg, goes in and goes all the way down to the floor of the motorhome. The medium-sized leg sits on top of this base sort of shelf. Right, and then you need to, while balancing these pieces, get the bottom shelf in. This gets easier as the shelves get higher. So, bottom shelf in. Alright, so that's the bottom shelf in. You can see that it's already on the existing shelf at the bottom there, and is being supported by the first 2 poles, the long pole and the medium pole. Yep. So this is the next shelf, and as I said, you can see it's got a lot more rectangular cutouts because we're starting to get more legs now to support it. So we've got some more of these legs. These ones are slightly shorter now, And again, a juggling act, you've got to try and get these resting on top of the existing shelf. So you can see how the bottom shelf has the cutouts for the two legs that go through, one there and one at the other, front left and front right. Now we have the rear legs, so these rest on this bottom shelf. So I've just linked them up there now. As I said, there hasn't been any stickers or glue or anything holding them in place. So what I'll do now is put the second shelf on top of these, resting on top of all the 90-degree brackets. Okay, so let's get the second shelf in. Slightly trickier. This is probably the trickiest shelf because you've got to try and balance all the legs. Okay, so the juggling act of getting the second shelf in is completed. So now you can see we've got 5 legs all coming through holes in the ply. And as I said, there are a few obstructions in the cabinet here. So this bit of wood here, so you had to make sure that a shelf was, you know, below that and above it. Also making sure we didn't hit the satellite dish controller as well. So it gets a lot easier now because the legs are all supported by the shelves. So let's get the next shelves in. Okay, shelf number 3 goes in on a bit of an angle. Easy. All right, and then get the final shelf in. From memory, this one's a bit trickier to get in as well. Starting to run out of space. I wouldn't put a shelf too high up. I think you might have trouble getting it in otherwise. Okay, so that's all of the shelves in. I haven't stuck them in at all. They don't move or creak at all when we're on the move. As I said, I used 12mm ply. You might have been able to get away with thinner ply, but I didn't really want them to warp. Though we're not putting a lot of weight on it. It's mostly, you know, food and a bit of bedding and that sort of thing. So the final touch, as with all motorhome cupboards, is to add the non-slip mat to it. So I've just cut out pieces for each one, and then throwing those in will just stop anything from sliding around. Alright, so this is the finished result. Non-stick mat in there. You see the aluminium front gives a nice finish to the shelves, and the white legs, you don't really notice those. Maybe I could have painted them, but I was pretty happy with that. Some things to watch out for is the door itself has a pole running up the side that is for the latch. So when you are making the shelves, though I've made them go almost all the way to the front, make sure you leave a little bit of a gap there for that mechanism. Otherwise it won't shut properly. Well, this brings us to the end of my first DIY video. You can see we've got a huge amount of storage space compared to what we did have. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it gives you some ideas for how you might modify the wardrobes from your motorhome.